Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Salosa and I'm joined by the magnificent...
One amongst many, yes. Hello, and we've got some shiny new changes coming to Overwatch soon, hopefully, with the experimental card coming out. Now, you already talked about this yesterday. You're very well informed on this. So what are Blizzard up to, Sty? What's happening? What's going on?
Well, this is the thing. I kind of want to have a discussion here about, is this the right direction to take the game in? And what actually are Blizzard trying to do here? Because Jeff put a post up on the forum and went into detail on all of the changes to Roadhog, Reinhardt, Sigma, McCree, Mei, Anna, and Brigitte, and all of them are focused on reducing their crowd control capability, with the exception of Roadhog, because he gets an increase of 20% on whole hog. But we'll get onto that in a second. But what really interested me here is, why are they doing this? And then there is this little bit where Jeff goes on to say, internally, we have some bigger ideas about crowd control for Overwatch 2, and we're trying some experiments we are not able to bring to the experimental card, more fundamental and larger changes. And this got me thinking, what are Blizzard doing, and why are they trying to speed the game up like this? And is this the right thing to do?
Ooh, I do love it when they have some big ideas. Can I also say that Jeff's grabber is a start paragraphs with a capital letter, Jeff, please, for the love of God. Anyway, right, I think I'm the only person in the world that cares about that. Yeah, it's a very interesting change. So one of the things that I love doing whenever changes come out is I'll go through and I'll look at the official forums, I'll look at Reddit, I'll look at the YouTube comments, I'll look through everything and try and get a feel for, like, what are people saying? What is people's concerns lying with this? And it's really, really interesting looking at this one, because there's a lot of, like, well, why are they nerfing Mei? Because Mei's already been nerfed several times. She's kind of dropping out of the meta. She's only been used really at Overwatch League level, and she's sort of fading away elsewhere. Why nerf Mei? Why nerf Sigma? Why, like, go and alter his rock? And it's kind of a nerf. It's sort of a half nerf, half not nerf. But why are you changing Sigma? Like, why are you changing McCree in this way? What's going on? Why are they doing this? And it's a really, really interesting thing that they're trying to do, because they've changed how they're balancing the game by putting this on the experimental card. Generally, when we go, oh man, there's problems with Overwatch, I wish they'd fix this, rah, 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 they go in and they nerf specific characters. But this is the first time I think they've gone in, aside from when they've altered Ultimate Charge, and they go, oh, we're going to change a game mechanic in a really big way.
But then, even when you say that, like, there are some clear omissions to this. There's a certain Mr. Doomfist. It's like, well, why isn't he included in any of these? You can throw Lucio in as well. These knockback, these crowd control, these stun changes. But yeah, you're totally correct. This is a fundamental mechanic of the game, which is being changed on the experimental card. I mean, the only reason I can see they're doing this is to try and speed up the game. Because reducing crowd control in this kind of way means that, well, you can move more, right? So you're going to do more stuff. The game feels more active. It feels a bit more involved. But we still come back to this idea of what, is this the right thing to be doing? I think Mei is an interesting one to look at, because when you look at Mei from, like, the community's perspective, and a lot of you guys watching this video will probably agree with what I'm about to say, but Mei has been consistently nerfed over and over again. I think Mei is in, like, an okay position now, and then you look at these changes and then lay it on top of other nerfs that she's already had. Now, remember, this is experimental, so this can change. This might not make it to live. But like Josh said, this is a change to the way the game functions on a fundamental level. That's why it impacts Mei again. But then you can throw in the thing of, well, Doomfist, he wasn't changed. So why have they gone and changed Mei again? And in fact, I'll say this, Josh. In fact, I'll say this before you come in. I thought they'd change multi-freeze. I thought that's what they'd do to Mei.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think what they want with Mei is, like, Mei is there to crowd control. She's there for crowd control purposes. And the issue that people have with Mei is that she crowd controls and kills people at the same time. Like, she gives all this area denial power, and then she can kill. And one of the things that people have done is they've kind of masked it out, because at the moment the experimental card is still down. They still ruined Overwatch and destroyed it with this patch, so hey, not in the metaphorical sense either, in the literal sense, it just literally doesn't work. So what people are saying is she can no longer get two very quick headshots out if you free someone and then headshot, which you can do at the moment, which is a massive nerf to her ability to kill tanks, and off tanks in particular, but she can't just kill tanks very quickly. So what this means is you're going to need your team to help you, and that multi-freeze power still gives her the area denial potential. It still gives her the ability to really slow everything down, to really gum up choke points as effectively as she currently does. But now you're going to need someone else to come and perhaps help you get those kills, which sort of solves the problem that a lot of people have, which is sort of getting onto the Doomfist problem, which my issue probably isn't with crowd control in itself, it's that helplessness and death that follows. There's no counterplay, there's no option for me. I'm just stunned or frozen and I'm dead. And Doomfist kind of has that same problem, right? He hits you, knocks you in the air, and unless someone like bubbles you, or unless you have like someone else come in with an ability, you just kind of die. And it feels like, maybe there's ways to introduce ways that people can get around that, to dodge that, to avoid that, to survive. But at the moment, Doomfist feels like the weird omission here that's missing. Maybe they're waiting to do a pass on like one-hit kills and trying to solve that problem and trying to lump Doomfist in with that issue instead. But it's an interesting sort of change to the balance overall, where they're kind of doing what I've always preached, which is look for the points of frustration in Overwatch. Look for where people are getting angry and annoyed.
And
going, oh man, I can't play this game anymore. It's so irritating. And then,
yeah, but it is right. It is though. This is a major issue with Overwatch. When you look at feedback people give on Overwatch that don't necessarily play the game day in, day out, they do often say stuff like, well, I just get stunned, I can't do anything, I'm flashed, I'm dead, Doomfist came out of nowhere and killed me. Like, those are the frustrations they've got. You don't really see people moaning about Widowmaker too much when she takes your head off. It's like, okay, well, I've just been shot in the head, I'm dead, kind of thing, right? Yeah, they will moan, but Doomfist is consistently over and over again. I can remember times playing Zen and having the time of my life, and then I'm dead. And then I'm dead again, and I'm dead again, and that's that. Anyway, let's move on to Sigma, right? Because this is a funky one. Because I don't understand what they're trying to do here. Because Sigma, the way it used to work, well, the way it works on live at the moment, is you throw the rock, and the further the distance, the longer the stun when it hits. So surely that's rewarding a good shot. And so they're getting rid of that. Why?
It's very weird, isn't it? Where it's like if he does yeet the rock all the way across the map and nail someone with it, it feels like you should get a big reward for that, because that's not an easy thing to do. Maybe the issue is it just feels very random if you hit it or not, whether it's like, or maybe it's trying to nerf stuff like Halt combos. We've seen like very high-level players being able to do this pretty consistently, where they'll halt someone in and then nail it with a rock at long distance, and that crowd control is feeling too powerful. But at which point, like, when are they nerfing Halt? Where's Halt in this list? The Halt is probably the bigger problem. So yeah, that's a very, very weird one as well. I really agree with that. That it just seems strange to remove this skill-based mechanic that I like. If he hits me from 3 miles away, like, hats off to you, sir. You've done something great, and you should be rewarded for that. And I've always tried to come down on the side of, yeah, if it feels skillful, it should feel good. The other issue that could come in, and I've seen a lot of people scared about this, is mobility creep. Like, when Dive was meta, it was a very big issue where, like, all the new heroes and everything being added was just making the game faster and faster and faster, and crowd control kind of, like you said, puts brakes on that and slows it down. So are we in danger now of going back to an era where it's like Genji Tracer, Echo, for example? She's going to be fairly crowd control resistant. She's nimble, she's fast in the air, hard to hit with a lot of crowd control. Are we going back to this time where now Overwatch goes back to this like super fast, super high intensity gameplay, which might not be the healthiest way for the game to go?
Yeah, it's interesting. So what about Roadhog then? Because Roadhog, they've decided to very clearly state here that Whole Hog is now used for purely area denial. Giving it 20% extra knockback is massive. You're going to be, talking of yeeting people, you're going to be able to yeet entire teams all over the place with this. I mean, I've got like crazy scenarios in my head where it's like overtime. It doesn't matter if it's a payload map or any map. You're just going to walk in with this bad boy and start flushing people off the point. Of course, you're still vulnerable to things like sleep, getting hooked, anything like that, which is going to take you out of it. But this is them very much saying here, this is just an ultimate to control an area, right?
Yeah, it's always kind of had that usage in my head, so it's not that big a change overall. But like you said, clearing payloads, definitely. It might also just lead to a lot more where you just completely push the team out. Like the general usage I have in my head of like, what makes a good Roadhog ult? What is a good Roadhog ult? It's either you trap someone in a corner and kill them, okay, great, you can still do that, or you blow up a Reinhardt barrier and you push all their team out a little bit, and then your team kills their team. And right now, with this change, it feels like instead of pushing them out a little bit, you'll just push them all the way out and the fight's kind of over. And they'll go back around the corner, recharge their Reinhardt barrier or whatever, and then come back for the next push. So it might like weaken it in that regard of like, you can no longer convert it into kills as easily. And again, kind of an interesting change. But Roadhog's kind of an odd one anyway. Like, if you want to talk about crowd control heroes, yeah, he's almost one of these like epitome of crowd control heroes. So no change to the hook, no change to the one-shot combo from him, and just like reducing his kill potential with his ulti seems a strange change to me, where they also are looking to like remove crowd control. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Like, that's the point of experimental. At the end of the day, it is experimental. Exactly.
And also, this gives us such a... I said this in quite a few previous videos, but it gives us such a great window into what the developers are thinking when they start doing stuff like this, because it's like, you can look at it and go, okay, this is great. Everybody likes to see crowd control and stuns reduced, but then when you start looking more into it, start trying to find patterns as to why they're doing these things. It's really interesting. So Anna, she gets a 1 second reduction on sleep dart, and I just don't think this even matters, to be honest, because 5 seconds is an eternity in Overwatch anyway. So why even change that?
Yeah, what are you doing in 6 seconds that you can't do in 5?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very, very odd one. I guess it just feels a bit nicer. Like, I guess the argument is then, why do you need it to be 6 seconds? Why not just have it as 5 seconds? So, sure, it doesn't really change things. 5 seconds is still a very, very long form of crowd control, but I don't think anyone, and this might be my bias as like an Ana player, but I don't think anyone feels really that tilted when they get hit by a sleep dart. It's a long cooldown. It's difficult to hit at times. It's, it's a risk for the Ana because once it's gone, she's very vulnerable. So it's like, yeah, sure, you get that sleep dart, and then when you get hit, you just wake up anyway. And it feels kind of fine like that. You're not just being completely destroyed by it unless everyone's around to help her, which with Overwatch, that's kind of how it feels like it should be, right? Where, like, even if McCree's flashbang no longer killed, if he has help, then suddenly he can get these kills very reliably, or he can gum up tanks and slow up tanks and get kills on tanks with it because his team is there to help him. That's always felt like where Overwatch has kind of flowed to in balanced direction. But I suppose the bigger question for me is now, what do they want to do in the future with this Overwatch 2 teaser? And there's like 6 heroes in the works for Overwatch 2. Are they going to make sure that they're not adding crowd control abilities? I mean, Echo doesn't have a crowd control ability unless you
but
discount
then she's got every crowd control ability.
And then she can Earth Shadow like 7 billion times. Okay, sure. But in her basic kit, she is just pure damage. Like, she exists as a pure DPS output machine. So is that how they're going to go with the rest of these heroes? Are we going to see the supports just be very supporty? Are we going to see the tanks just be very like basic and tanky? How are they going to incorporate this change to the design and see how it goes into Overwatch 2 in the future?
Well, like Jeff keeps saying that Overwatch 2, this is somewhere where they can make fundamental changes to the game, where they can change stuff which literally cannot be changed in current Overwatch because maybe there's engine limitations, there's just design limitations, maybe it would break things. We don't know what these guys are working on for Overwatch 2 anyway. We don't know what updates are coming out. So all of this stuff, we've kind of got tons of gaps in sort of what we can perceive as happening in Overwatch 2. But it is very interesting that Jeff would even talk about that in this post. Like, to reference Overwatch 2, they've got bigger ideas about crowd control in Overwatch 2. I mean, what does that mean? Reducing crowd control? Maybe, like you said, maybe like streamlining actual classes. So like, this is a tank, but this is a crowd control hero. But would that work? Look at Mei. She's effectively a crowd control hero. But as we've said in this video, Mei then can kill you. And that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. She's freezing you. It's not on somebody else on her team to finish you off. She's killing you as well. It's like, uh-oh, I'm froze and I'm dead. Could they actually do that and segment the characters off? Would that be a super boring character to play if all it does is stun people? Probably, yeah, because you want to shoot people in an FPS game most of the time, So I don't know, it's just so cool.
Sombra's literally that character at the moment still. It's interesting because, like, we've been playing a little bit of Valorant on the side, like, we've been enjoying that, and Valorant kind of does that, right? You, like, want to bring a character with a smoke, and a character with, like, a flash, and a character with a wall, and a character who can do this, and you see that kind of happen already, and it's curious to see if they do try and move Overwatch in that direction, where you want to bring, like, one of your DPS needs to have good crowd control tools, and one of your DPS needs to have good damage tools, and both of those don't have, like, one character doing both of them. Would that feel good? Would that feel fun? Would that feel satisfying for the person, like you rightfully said, playing the crowd control character? We've seen time and time again, people like playing characters that can just shoot other characters and do things. So is that the right way to go about it? The other interesting thing to me is, like, surely if they have bigger ideas about crowd control, they probably have bigger ideas about a lot of things. They're probably, like you said, looking at a lot of things. And this Overwatch 2 is such a breath of fresh air and something to be excited about purely because it gives them a chance to rebalance fundamental aspects of the game. To look at things and go, you know what, that didn't work, let's try changing that. That didn't work, let's try changing that. And I can't help but wonder if the experimental cards we're going to get in the future are all gearing up towards these big Overwatch 2 changes where the game might be basically reborn, I suppose, in a better form. And I'm kind of excited to see that. I'm kind of excited to see what they'll do with that.
Yeah, I mean, this could be seen as it's a stat scraping exercise to go, right, we're going to make these changes to CC. Let's see what happens. Let's see what feedback we get. Let's see what stats we collect from this. And does this make the game more enjoyable? There's all these kind of things going on. But the common theme through all of these changes here is, with the exception of Roadhog, I guess, is they are reducing the time you get crowd controlled. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that being bad, because nobody wants control taken away from their heroes. Like, I remember a while back. It might have been Jeff Goodman, or it might have been Scott Mercer. It's one of the developers, and they were talking in an interview about it's never fun to lose control of your character. And then Mei was announced, I remember. And I was just like, what? You know? So what's going on? Like, so they obviously know that that's not great. But then there must have been other decisions and thought processes leading to the introduction of Mei, right? Because maybe they just wanted a character which can freeze people. Because we've kind of seen this with Overwatch. If you look throughout its history, I think the heroes just come from a place of, yeah, that's cool. We want to make this because it's really cool. That's a terrible Mei pun, I suppose. But like, look at Doomfist, right? We want a fighting game character in the game. How cool would that be? So they make Doomfist. The first time you played Doomfist, I can guarantee you had the same reaction as me. It was like, oh my God, this is insane. This is crazy. Like, how can this exist in this game? It's so much fun. But then as time goes on, yeah, there's a lot of problems, right? We see a lot of changes coming in. It's like Brig as well. Brig was the same, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Brig had the same issues where it's like, oh my God, like, how do you get this hero in the game? And then it's just like, oh, well, she's kind of just a very blunt instrument to try and solve a problem. It's fascinating to me to see these processes with these heroes, and there's a reason why like there's no slows in the game. There are a couple in like tied to various abilities, like Mei technically slows you, certain ultimates can slow you down a little bit, but there's no hero that like paints the floor with a big slow as an ability.
Well, here's the thing: would a slow be like? So if you got flashbang, would you prefer to be slowed instead of being perfectly still, or maybe it interferes with your vision a little bit? But you can still aim.
I'd actually like that, because then you have a little mind game of, do I like slowly inch to the left or do I slowly inch to the right, right? And then McCree has to kind of make a guess, and there's a 50-50 going on there that's kind of interesting. Or he just goes for a fan the hammer and body shots, and maybe that isn't a reliable kill. Like, there's ways to like make mind games happen, to make little interesting scenarios happen, and that could be like a fun way of trying to deal with it. Just give me a little bit of control where I can do something to try and fight back against the McCree. So that could be kind of fun. Yeah, they've always shied away from having these slows in the game. Like, there's no character that just puts down a big slow or like slows various people from long distance. They've always been super careful about that. But it feels like with stuns, they kind of slightly lost track a little bit and started adding a few too many here and there, and then buffing them to make them viable and to make them always useful, and then nerfing them, and they seem uncertain. And with this, it feels like they've finally got down, and Jeff's gone, nope, we're doing this, and let's see how it goes. And I like that. I like it when the game director comes in and has a direction, and it seems really cool.
All right, guys. Well, let us know what you think about all of this in the comments below. It's interesting. It's super interesting, this stuff is. When the experimental card goes live, hopefully, we'll be able to test some of this stuff and see how it works. Like, I really want to see how far Roadhog can just blast people with this. It's going to be mental. But yeah, let us know what you think about all of this stuff in the comments below, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.